What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to continue our series on can AI predict the midterm election. Now, if you guys watch my channel on a regular basis, you know there's been a little bit of time in between the last AI forecast that I put out and the forecast that I'm putting out today. Now, we're going to be focused on the House. Now, the reason that there's been this gap in time is I've been training AI. I've had to retrain AI actually because of the new Supreme Court ruling and the new redistricting that we're seeing, and then also the reality when it comes to voters. I had to make some changes. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video. I'm going to show you the new AI model. But the problem that I was running into is we have to be realistic when it comes to voters. Voters aren't always rational when they go in and vote. And so we have to take that into consideration. I'm going to explain to you what I'm talking about. We'll take a look at the Cook Political Report, and then we'll get into the actual AI model, and I'll show you what the numbers are. So we're going to do all that in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. So the first thing I want to talk about is voters. So voters aren't always rational when they go and vote. And we know this. And in this example, I'm going to use farmers because farmers, we've heard a lot about farmers over the last several months, ever since President Trump came into office. Now, farmers voted for Trump at about 70%. Okay, so most farmers voted for President Trump. Now, you have a lot of farmers right now that are struggling, and you have some farmers that have gone bankrupt as a result of President Trump's policies. However, you still have farmers out there who voted for Trump who are struggling right now because of tariffs, because of inflation, because of fertilizer going up as a result of the war in Iran. So all of this stuff is going on, and some of these farmers still support Trump and will support the Republican ticket. And so that should tell you something. You can have people who are suffering as a result of someone they supported, but they're going to continue to support the ticket because they supported the ticket in the past. And that's the only reason why they're doing it. It's not for financial gain, because they're actually losing as a result of this, and they could lose their farm as a result of this. And so we've heard clips. Now, some farmers have said, you know what, I'm not supporting this administration anymore. I'm not supporting Republicans. Some farmers have said that. But you do have farmers that are still in support of Republicans, in support of President Trump, and we will see that in the midterm elections. You have certain areas that are solid Republican areas. Even if they're struggling, they're still not going to vote for a Democrat. They're going to continue to vote for a Republican. However, when I put the AI model together, I didn't factor in the fact that some voters are, they're just not rational. They're not rational. They're not up to date on the current events, and so they don't even know what's going on, but they will go and vote, and they'll vote for whoever they voted for in the past. If it's a Republican, they'll vote for a Republican. If it's a Democrat, they'll vote for a Democrat. They're not thinking about how is this going to impact me. And that's what we heard some farmers say. Well, I didn't know that all this was going to happen, and now I have to pay more for this, and soybeans, China's not buying our soybeans anymore, and tariffs and all of this. President Trump, when he was running, he was talking about tariffs. That was his favorite word, tariffs. And so if you were a farmer back then listening to President Trump and you decided to vote for President Trump, you should have known if he's talking about tariffs, this is going to impact your business. You're going to have to pay more. We could be in a situation where China decides not to buy soybeans from us anymore as a result of tariffs. And so it's hard for AI to factor that in. Factor in the reality that if our economy is doing bad, you are still going to have some voters that are going to say, you know what, it's bad, but I'm still going to vote for a Republican, or I'm still going to support President Trump. And then on top of that, we have to look at what's available. So Democrats, and I'll show you the AI model, but Democrats, there are only a certain amount of seats that Democrats are going to be able to pick up. And that's it. They're going to hit a ceiling. And what we were looking at in the previous model, these are seats that Democrats can pick up. We started at 11, we went to 20, then went to 21, 37, 40, 45, 43. This area right here, we're talking about a blue wave, okay? And then they dropped down to 33, 37, 41, 44, 42, and then look what happened. And this is based on the economy. The AI model is factoring in job approval of the president. It's looking at the generic ballot. It's looking at CPI, GDP, unemployment. It's looking at all of that information. And we've seen that information get worse over time. And so it shot up to 69 seats. So Democrats can gain, they stand to pick up 69 seats. Well, are there 69 realistic seats available? No, there isn't. So when we start getting up to those numbers, and went back down to 63 here, the last model that I did, I'm going to show you the last model that I did, it's showing even higher. And so I had to make adjustments to the model just to see what's realistic. And now let me show you the Cook Political Report, because this will illustrate what I'm talking about a little bit better. Okay, so here's the Cook Political Report. This is the latest information that we have. Now, looking at the Cook Political Report, what they're doing here, let me zoom in really close. They're showing here Democrats have a solid 184 seats. On the Republican side, Republicans have a solid 188 seats. So these seats are probably most likely going to go to Republicans, and vice versa. These Democratic seats, 184, most likely will go to a Democrat. They're solid seats. They've been Democratic seats for forever and ever, and they're probably not going to change. However, there are a few seats that just most likely due to redistricting, we're seeing some seats like they have 2 Republican seats that will most likely flip for Democrats. Okay, so you have 2 seats there. Now let's move to the likely category for Democrats. So likely there's 11 seats that Democrats will pick up. Okay, now they're not going to flip any seats. This is just the 11 seats that they would have normally won. Looking at the lean Democrat, you have 10 seats that they should be able to defend. When it comes to Republican seats, they have an opportunity to flip 2 Republican seats. So let's do the math here. So we have 2 right here. And then we have 2 right here. So that's 4 seats so far that Democrats can flip. Okay, now that's what we're talking about here. When I was talking about the AI model showing us 63 seats that Democrats can flip, it's not realistic. Okay, and this is the reason why. So we move to the toss-ups. When we're looking at toss-ups, Republicans have 14 seats at risk. Okay, Democrats have 4 seats at risk. So if Democrats can defend these 4 seats and pick up 14 seats, then if we add that all together, that's 18 seats. So we have 2 in the lean, we have 2 in the solid, and we have 14 in the toss-up. So right now, Democrats stand to gain 18 seats. And so this is based on if Democrats do everything right and they're able to win all of these seats. Now, let's move to the lean Republican. So lean Republican, that means Republicans have an advantage, a slight advantage. Right here, you have 2 Republican seats that Democrats can flip. So that would be a total of 20 seats. If Democrats went, if we were looking at this, if Democrats were able to defend all of their seats and then move into the lean category where Republicans are and pick up those 2 seats, they would net 20 seats. Okay, that is what this is showing us. Now, when it comes to likely seats, it's likely to go to a Republican, but the seats are still vulnerable. In this situation, you have 14 Republican seats that are likely. So Democrats have an opportunity to pick up those 14 seats. Okay, so then you add that. So you had 20, now you have 14. So now you have 34 seats that Democrats could potentially pick up. If you move into the likely category and Republicans lose all of those likely seats. And then we also need to factor in these seats here, Democrats. Okay, let me change the color here so we can see this a little bit better. So when it comes to Democrats, you have in the lean Republican category, you have 3 seats that Republicans have an opportunity to flip. And so you have to subtract that from your final number. And then as well as you have 3 seats here that are likely that Republicans are going to be able to flip on the Democratic side. And a lot of this has to do with redistricting. And so the exposure right now, Democrats have, if they do, if we see this blue wave, if they do really well, they could pick up 34 seats. This is based on the Cook Political Report. Now, if we were seeing numbers even higher than that, they're going to have to move into the solid category. If they move into the solid category, now, these are seats that most likely Republicans are going to win. Like we're talking about a plus 10 seats. So Republicans already have a 10-point advantage in these seats. And so I'm not saying that Democrats won't be able to flip any of those seats, but I'm just saying it's going to be a lot harder for Democrats to flip some of those seats. And with redistricting, that is also going to play a role and make it even harder for Democrats to flip some of these seats. Now, it could make it easier for Democrats to flip some of the other seats with redistricting. And this is the gamble that both Republicans and Democrats are making when it comes to redistricting. And the gamble is when you dilute certain areas, then you risk losing those seats. So if you take a seat that was let's see, a plus 20 seat for a Republican, and then you change the districts and you say, well, we want to pick up this Democratic seat, so we're going to redraw lines and we'll make that Democratic seat now a plus 10 for Republicans, but then that plus 20 seat for Republicans is now only a plus 10 for Republicans. So now you have two Republican seats, two possible seats that Republicans can win, and they're both at plus 10, which could give Democrats an advantage in a wave election where they might be able to win a seat, even if it's showing a plus 10. We've seen some of the special elections out there. We've seen Democrats outperform. We've seen some Democrats outperform 10 points. So that is not unrealistic. But I just wanted to show you this. In order for Democrats just giving you the example, we went up to 34 seats. Let's say Democrats are able to win 5 seats here or 6 seats here in the solid category. So they were able to flip those 6 seats. Then they would be looking at 40 seats, a 40-seat gain, Democrats would be, but nowhere near 63 or nowhere near anything higher than that. And so we have to be realistic when we're looking at this. And so that's why I had to make changes to the AI model. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the model, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the AI model. And so remember, when we're looking at the AI model, we're taking historic data and basically making a calculation. So AI is making the calculation. At the end, it will spit out a number for us, and then we'll use that number to see how many seats that Democrats have an opportunity to pick up. Okay, so when we're talking about the generic ballot right now, according to Real Clear Politics, is plus 8.1%. Okay, now we've been using Real Clear Politics this whole time, and I'm going to continue to use Real Clear Politics for the generic ballot. Okay, President's job approval. President's job approval right now is at 39%. We use Ballotpedia to pick that up. We've been using Ballotpedia. We're going to continue. Now, here are the calculations here. Okay, and this will make sense at the end. The economy. Okay, current GDP, 1.6%. And when we're looking at this information, just understand a lot of this, if not most of this information, if not all of this information, it's bad. It's bad for the president. It's bad for Republicans. Okay, and it's continuing to get worse. So GDP at 1.6%, CPI, so inflation at 3.8%. And remember, when President Trump came into office, CPI or inflation was at 3%. So it is higher now than it was when he came into office. Unemployment at 4.3%. And there's the calculation there. And then we have special elections at +4. Democrats have been able to outperform Republicans in special elections, and we've seen this across the board. Most of these special elections are showing that Democrats are doing better than Kamala Harris did in 2024. And so they're outperforming her numbers. And when it comes to President Trump, some of these districts where President Trump won by 20 or won by 30, a Democrat might not win that district, but they're only behind by maybe 7 points as opposed to 30 points. Okay. And then seats at risk, we have +9 here. Now, what I've changed here when it comes to the AI models, I've changed this part here. This part here says +8.99. Now, before in that calculation, I would say for every 1 point, that equates to 10 seats. That was the old AI model. Now, what I've done here is we're now giving it what we call an environment score. So the climate right now is showing that Democrats have a huge advantage. But we can't say just because they have a huge advantage, they're going to win, they're going to pick up 90 seats, because there realistically aren't 90 seats available for them to pick up. And so we have the environment score here at 90 out of 100. So 90% out of 100. That just shows you how, Democrats are doing right now. They're doing really well when it comes to these issues that we went over. So when we move down and we take a look at scenarios, this is what we're looking at. So a contained wave, basically, Democrats could pick up between 20 and 25 seats. And when we're looking at a strong wave, Democrats can pick up between 26 and 35 seats, okay? And then if the wave breaks open, if we continue to see numbers increase when it comes to inflation, increase when it comes to, or decrease when it comes to the president's job approval, if we see the generic ballot continue to increase to benefit Democrats, then we could see this breakout and Democrats could be between 36 and 45 seats. Okay, that is what we're seeing here. Now, what I also want to take into consideration is I want to take in redistricting. Now, we don't know exactly how that's going to play out. We know the numbers right now is showing us that when it comes to redistricting, Republicans right now, as it stands, Republicans are set to gain 6 to 8 seats, okay, or net 6 to 8 seats, because Democrats will pick up some seats as well, so they'll be subtracted from that. So you might hear some people say, well, you know what? No, Republicans are going to be able to pick up 12 seats. Well, they might pick up 12 seats, but in California picks up 5 seats, and then you're going to have to offset that. And so we don't know, we still don't know what's going to happen with redistricting, but I wanted to put that in this model. Now, when we put redistricting in this model, you have to understand that is the most conservative number that we're going to be showing. And the reason that I'm saying that is because when we start looking at seats at risk, when we start looking at, and like I showed you, the Cook Political Report, and we can go back to that for a second. When we're looking at the Cook Political Report, this is going to change as well. This will change as a result of redistricting. As a matter of fact, it's already changing. And so some of these seats, when you're looking at this area here where it's the solid Democratic seats, you have these Republican seats. Well, what really changed in those districts? What changed is they drew new lines. Okay, same thing with Republicans. So when they start drawing new lines, that means that they're now taking some seats that were Democrat, that leaned for Democrats, are likely or solid for Democrats. They've changed those to solid for Republican. So we're already getting some of that here. We're already getting some of that in the Cook Political Report. But I wanted to go a step further and just add the 6 to 8 seats. And so I wanted to show you the lowest level. So if we put all of that in there and we still added the redistricting, the 6 to 8 seats, that's going to be the baseline there. That's going to show you, okay, Democrats should be able to pick up at least this amount, but they might even be able to pick up more because the 6 to 8 seats that I'm adding to this for Republicans is overlapping some of the information that we're getting from the Cook Political Report. So getting back to our AI model, we've added the plus 6 to 8 seats for Republicans right now. And like I said, that can change. Democrats might be able to pick up even more seats. And so we don't know exactly where it is. We'll put 6 to 8 right now. If we're looking at the final takeaway, we have the environment score at 90 or 90% if you want to look at that, 90 out of 100. The most realistic Democratic outcome is Democrats 26 to 35, okay? And that's before redistricting. So now if we add the redistricting in, we're looking at the adjusted range of 20 to 29 seats. Now, when we're talking 20 to 29 seats, what does that mean? That means that Democrats will take back control of the House. Because remember, Democrats need to net 3 seats. They need to net 3 seats in order to take back control of the House. They'll be well over that if we looked at a range of 20 to 29 seats. And another thing that I'm doing too with the AI models, I'm giving you guys a range now. I'm not just going to give you a number because it's really not helpful if I give you a number 63 or I give you a number 44 or 45. If I give you a range, then you can kind of see, okay, it should fall within this range. Is this range high enough for Democrats to take back control of the House? Right now it is. So that's the best way that I've come up with to give you guys a forecast when it comes to the House. So the good news for Democrats is that, yes, they should be able to still take back control of the House. When we're looking at polling is showing us the same thing. We're looking at the prediction markets. It's also showing us that Democrats have a good shot at taking back control of the House, even with all the redistricting and everything else that's going on. So I just wanted to show you this AI model. I'm going to start doing these on a weekly basis now. We're now in summer. We're getting close to the election. And even though we still have 5 months to go, we're getting close. And so I want to start doing this on a regular basis just so you can see the different fluctuations. And we can look at all the different indicators to see exactly where we are. And I've had a lot of people ask me, especially as a result of redistricting, what is that going to mean for Democrats? Are they going to be able to take back control of the House? I think they still have a very good shot at taking back control of the House. And in the end, we'll see if the AI model is correct in predicting can Democrats take back the House and see if they're within that range when it comes to the seats. So that's all I have for this video. I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the AI model? Do you think Democrats have a good shot at taking back control of the House? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.